Welcome back to my channel Knowledge Chronicle.
Imagine a world where you could order a genetic copy of yourself. Sounds like science fiction, but the science exists. Hi, welcome back to Knowledge Chronicle. Today, we'll answer, what if human cloning became legal tomorrow? I'll explain the biology, show real examples like Dolly the sheep, and walk you through the medical, social, legal, and ethical fallout, bluntly and clearly. If cloning were legal tomorrow, would we get immortality, organ farms, or chaos? Short answer, none of the neat sci-fi promises come for free. There are technical limits, medical dangers, and deep social costs. Let's break it down. What cloning actually means. First definitions. Fast and clear. Reproductive cloning. Creating a new, genetically almost identical human, a born person, from another person's DNA. Therapeutic cloning, also called somatic cell nuclear transfer for research. Creating embryos to harvest stem cells for medicine, not to implant into a uterus. Somatic cell nuclear transfer, or SCNT. The lab method that made Dolly. You take a somatic cell, any body cell, remove its nucleus. Put that nucleus into an egg whose nucleus was removed, trigger it to divide and implant. Stem cells, primitive cells that can become many tissue types. Pluripotent stem cells can form nearly any body cell. Totipotent can form an entire organism early on. Induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs, adult cells reprogrammed to act like stem cells. Important because they avoid using embryos, but carry other risks. Real example. Dolly and what we learned. In 1996, scientists cloned Dolly the sheep using SCNT. Dolly proved mammals can be cloned from adult cells, but she also revealed problems, shortened telomeres, linked to aging, high failure rates, and abnormal development in many clones. That's the technical reality. Cloning is inefficient and risky. So, if cloning were, suddenly legal tomorrow, let's consider some immediate practical scenarios. Scenario A involves a regulated medical program where clinics could perform therapeutic cloning for organ tissue and research under strict oversight. This might, just might, help study diseases and maybe even grow tissues. But let's be clear, full human reproductive cloning would still be medically hazardous. Then there's scenario B, where reproductive clinics open up and wealthy folks might try to clone children. Unfortunately, you'd expect many birth defects, miscarriages, and high mortality until the techniques improve, creating human suffering on a large scale. And finally, scenario C, an underground market. You see, bans today encourage black markets, but legalizing could shift power to whoever controls the technology and money, increasing inequality and exploitation. Now, let's talk about the benefits. The real ones, not the hype. One of the real defensible benefits is disease modeling. Clones or clone-derived tissues could allow doctors to test treatments on genetically matched tissue. Then there's organ generation research. When combined with gene editing and tissue engineering, cloning techniques might help produce compatible organs. And, conservation. Cloning endangered species has been used, though in humans, this is, ethically fraught. Now the ugly part, the real downsides. First, there's medical harm. We're talking about high rates of developmental problems, premature aging, and genetic abnormalities. Dolly the sheep already showed us this, right? Second, there's genetic monoculture. If lots of people start cloning just a handful of ideal genotypes, the whole population's resilience drops. That means we become way more vulnerable to disease and environmental changes. Third, identity and psychological harm. Clones are not the original person, and they could face identity crises, social stigma, and probably some legal headaches over parentage and personhood. Fourth, exploitation and inequality. The rich will get access to advanced cloning and gene edits, which only widens social divides. Fifth, ethical collapse. If embryos are turned into spare parts or children are manufactured, we end up commodifying human life. And honestly, consent is just impossible for the person being created. Lastly, regulation, law. culture, and medical practice always moves slower than business. So, yeah, expect abuse before any protections can catch up. So, how could we reduce these harms? Well, if society still goes ahead and legalizes cloning, strict guardrails are absolutely mandatory. For starters, ban or at least tightly regulate reproductive cloning, but maybe allow supervised therapeutic research. We'd also need transparent reporting, global registries, and independent ethics oversight. Plus, strong social support for any cloned person. That means legal identity, psychological care, and anti-discrimination laws. And of course, global agreements are needed to prevent cross-border cloning tourism and those shady black markets. Bottom line, the science to clone humans already exists, but legalizing it tomorrow wouldn't bring instant benefits. It would just magnify medical risks, social harms, and inequality. The right approach is cautious, regulated research focused on therapy, not on manufacturing humans. Your one like, share, and subscribe will help us create more valuable content.